And let me tell you, you and I could feel so divine. Yeah. Let's take the time to find the finer things in life. Well, come on over, I wanna slow your gold tonight. I'm with you, baby. Everything gon' be alright. I ain't got nothing to lose. Oh, you know I got nothing here to prove. All I came to do is vibe with you. You're so amazing, a vision to implode my mind. Yeah, I dig this vision, this feeling that we know inside. Well, got the love dancing through the pretty lights. That's such a blessing, 'cause baby, we got nothing but time. Alright. Oh, I ain't got nothing to lose. Oh, I ain't got nothing to prove. All I'm gonna do is vibe with you. Hey. I ain't got nothing to lose. Oh, I ain't got nothing to prove. I just come out with you. I ain't got nothing to hide. I just gonna vibe, gonna vibe. I just wanna vibe with you, baby. Everybody vibe. Everybody vibe. Nobody can hurt.
I cannot tell you how beautiful it is to start my morning on the West Coast with the funk. And that's the real thing. That's the on the one kind of stuff that I love, that just gets up in your back and you know what. And we have a very special guest today. If you guys don't already know, my name is Jeff Plankenhorn, and this is 20 Question Tuesdays. We are on Austin Music TV, which is your cable channel in Austin, $16.99 if you're on ATT Uverse. And of course, we're all over the interwebs with my Facebook page, my Twitch page, my YouTube page, and what's the other one? Twitter, Periscope. So anywhere you go, you can find us. But also on Austin Music, AustinCityJams.com. Another place you can find us right now. And like I said, I have a very special guest today, Mr. Henry Invisible, that we were just listening to. Oh, man, that makes me so happy. I had to represent and wear my Maggot Brain t-shirt today. Not like it's my only Funkadelic thing, but it's my favorite Funkadelic t-shirt. So for those who don't know, 20 Question Tuesdays is this. Early on in the pandemic, I turned on my camera one day and said, I'm just going to do kind of a little bit of a workshop and just take questions. And the floodgates opened. And I got questions from guitar players and songwriters and producers and friends and people that I never would have expected questions from. And I got really, really incredible questions from people who don't know anything about music, but just wanted to find out. And some of those questions were the best questions of all. And that's kind of where this all came from. So then when Sheila Steele said, hey, do you want to put this on our cable channel? I said, okay, cool. And I got this fun app that allows me to broadcast all over the place. And there's a little button right underneath my screen that says invite guests. And I was like, that's going to be way more interesting. So I started inviting guests of all ilk. I think first it was Michael O'Connor, then it was Jamie Harris. So we got songwriters and guitar players and session people, and then we had Ruthie Foster, and last week we had the Cosmic Cowboy Bob Livingston, and this week we're taking a huge left turn and bringing you the funk with Henry Invisible, and we're going to talk all about that in a minute. A little bit of housekeeping. Thank you again to everybody who came to the benefit that we did for the Central Texas Food Bank. We literally raised, you and me, over $10,000. I cannot believe how much with the people involved who send in music videos, all that stuff. So at the end of the month, with the success of that, we're going to do another one with the Purgatory Players and all of the friends, and we're going to do one for the Sims organization because it is Music Month. And we usually do that anyway when we're out playing gigs. Thank you all so much. If you want to go back and watch, you can go back and watch. If you want to donate, you can donate. There's ways to find out about that online. Also, every night after this on Tuesdays, I do my From Here to There. From Here to There, I just play my songs. I take requests, weird stuff from the Patreon, stuff from the old days, new stuff. Whatever. And I'm going to have a very special guest tonight. So if you want to have, I've never done this before, but I'm going to have a guest kind of pop in for a song or two that I want to tell you guys about. So if you tune into From Here to There tonight, you will, which will also be here on Austin Music TV and all these same places, you will hear the special guest and you can request a bunch of songs. I got a couple of Facebook groups for that and for 20 Question Tuesdays as well. Also, thanks everybody who came to the Resentment Show on Sunday. That was incredible, and I'm always amazed. We can't wait to start our Sunday residency back at the Saxon Pub. Hopefully, I'll get across the Canadian border by then. Cross your fingers. Who knows? I'm stuck here now, but it ain't so bad. It is what it is. Without further ado, to let you know, we always take questions from you. So get on the chat. Do me a favor, put some cool questions in there. Once the floodgates open, I already got some great questions. We're going to have a lot to talk about with Henry Invisible. Henry, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I just realized this is a touch of unprofessionalism that makes me so lovable. I am, I know, it's a horrible
Already, man? Already?
Yeah, I'm already messing up. I need to put my earbuds in so that people don't hear like a weird echo. They've been usually pretty good about fixing this stuff, but I'm going to put them in anyway.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, there we go. Hey, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just chilling, enjoying the day, and thanks for having me on the show.
Is it, I always like to say I really love being had. That's my own. I trademarked that. It's like a Rodney Dangerfield joke or something. Not that good, but it's all right.
It's all right.
It's okay. It's okay. So one thing that before we get started, just talking about kind of what you do, we got a lot of live streamers out there, and we got a lot of people who are doing, shows, and that's how. I mean, first of all, I got to thank people for kind of keeping us alive with tips and things like that. And even on this show, keeping it going for me and my guests so that we walk away with some gas money and whatnot. But you, especially compared to a lot of people in Austin, you kind of have a different thing going where you are a multi-instrumentalist and really you are able to play the whole track and kind of jump from instrument to instrument with ease on these beautiful funk things and dance arrangements that really get to the groove. We did a show for Black Fret for one of those happy hour concerts, and that was the first time I ever
Oh
got
yeah,
to
you and I remember that.
that was
Yeah.
the first time I ever got to hang with you, and I'm sitting there with my little acoustic guitar about to sing a which of course exactly what my music sounds like.
That was
And
beautiful.
and then all of a sudden you come on, and I'm just like, it was like, you know, and the visuals and the beauty of it
Oh, thank you.
before the pandemic. This would be the first thing just to kind of lead us off. Before the pandemic, was your show pretty much a solo show?
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
already your thing.
Yeah, I'd been doing Henry plus the Invisibles. Now I'm Henry Invisible, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, for over 10 years, over a decade. So yeah, I mean the one man band thing was kind of my deal. I'd been in a bunch of bands and just never, never really quite worked out the way I thought it would. So started doing it.
Well, I mean, necessity being the mother of invention, sometimes we've figured out, like, I wonder if looper pedals would exist if we could afford to bring people out. We don't know. Because the thing is, it's just like they just keep paying us less and less and less and less and less. And we just go, it's like there's this old Gillian Welch song that I really love. She said, it's called Everything is Free. And she says, they figured it out. We're going to do it anyway, even if it doesn't pay. And that's kind
Right.
of, the truth is, it's in our soul to make music and play it. And so we really just don't get out there and complain. We just figure out new ways to do things.
Exactly.
That leads me to a great starting question from Jana. Jana, right off the bat, asks kind of a technical question. And
Okay.
that is, if you are just starting with looper, and I know this is a hard question, you probably get it a lot. What is a good pedal to start with? Now, I know, and I've talked to people about this. I had someone ask me this recently on my Patreon. They said, what's a good looper pedal to start with? I want to hear what your answer is on that.
Well, they generally kind of all, basically do the same. And the first one that I started out with was
Which is what? What do they do?
they loop a phrase. So a loop
Right.
pedal basically loops a phrase, and the very simplest term, a 4 count, 2, 3, 4, and back at the 1, so that you can keep layering
Yep.
different
play over it.
instruments or vocal harmonies or whatnot. The first one I started off with was the Digitech Jam Man, which is real simple, a basic A-B kind of pedal where you can loop and loop over it, and you can step on it and take out that previous loop. So I started off very simply, which a quick side note on that, I was in a rock band called Star Child, and I got a sponsorship with Sam Ash. They gave us some money per month to kind of blow on some instruments and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I bought a loop pedal, and it sat on my mantle for over a year in the box before I even opened it. And when that band disbanded, I figured just pull it out and start dealing with it. So that's how I kind of grew into what I was doing. When I first came out, I was like Henry, the one man band, and that was kind of corny. So then I was like Henry plus the Invisibles is kind of fun. And yeah. So anyways,
let's see, Invisibles is kind of like, hey, wait a second, I got a bunch of men in the box. Here is the Invisibles. Do you
and
have
women.
Exactly, word, of course, non-binary too, damn it. But so do you have the ability right now with what you're looking at in front of us to just do a 4-bar loop?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Hit me with a 4-bar loop of any instrument and then play something over it so people kind of know what that is.
Well,
Anything.
Let me show you. Let me show you what I would do in a situation where, like, I would loop a bass line.
Okay.
Just,
putting you on the spot.
Yeah. So here, this is your basic loop, right? So I would just go there's a bass.
Now you can hear what you were playing.
Right, so we got percussion. And if I wanted to, I could
I gotta make you full screen for a minute. Keep it going. Keep it going. I'm gonna make you full screen.
Now I'm gonna throw some drums in there. Now we kind of got a groove, and then I would throw some guitar, maybe. You know
yeah, I was kind of hoping you'd do a little bit of soloing now. I was hoping you'd solo though. Give me some of that Eddie Hazel stuff, right?
You gotta throw it in. Yeah. Oh, this guitar is acting up a little bit. Yeah, where we at?
It's coming. We'll wait.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Now, I would say one of the cool elements about looping, though, is that nobody just wants to see you layer and layer things. So
that's one of the
actually,
hardest things, right? Let's talk about that for a second. Because the thing is, one of the first things you come up against is, how do I change sections? You know, I have looped a drum line and a bass line. Well, now I'm stuck on that bass line. But once you get into the more intricate loopers, you can pull out a bass line and put another one in.
Yeah.
You can pull down a bass, and that's going to create some more peaks and valleys than your average looper. You know, the average looper who's just kind of starting out just goes, here's a lick, here's a lick, here's a lick, here's a lick, and it never really, you know, it doesn't have those peaks and valleys that regular music does. And when I see you, or I see Mobley, or I see Sidney Wright, or our friends and contemporaries, one of the things that they do is they create these great peaks and valleys with looping. And it's something that you just immediately, I never get tired of listening to you play.
I appreciate that.
I mean,
a lot of it is like, you know, just listening and producing music for so long. What a lot of beginners do is they create this thing that begins to be like a drone-esque kind of loop. It just kind of hypnotizing, you know what I mean? It just keeps going and going. And so the real challenge is to make it a song. You have to make it a song. And in order for
talk a little bit about how to do that. Talk a little bit about how to create those, if you don't mind. You create the peaks and valleys by taking stuff away, right? And then adding.
I mean, it's like, okay, like in this song, for example, I might just break it down all of a sudden. Just take it right, or and then there's the piano, right? Right. So you play along with your tracks and you make it more interesting. And then, you know, actually I do have some scenes that I programmed so that I can loop on those too, you know, and it's a full song.
Tell us what a scene is.
Sure. A scene is basically a part in a music. Like if you think of, like, you know, the way most songwriters think about it, like an AABA form or ABAB.
Each one is a scene.
Yeah, each one of those is a scene. So you're talking about a verse or a pre-chorus and a chorus, and you're talking about a breakdown, and you're talking about all those things that make music. And if you're not doing that, you know, then that's cool too. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. But me personally, I like to make dance songs. So, you know, I want people to move and I want people to get it. And well, funk is loop oriented, in my opinion, as like reggae music is, or certain styles of music. And so I thought, you know, funk is kind of my upbringing. I've always loved funk. I was in a funk band, Gingerbread Man, back in the days, and you know, just always loving it. So I decided to try it out, and that's kind of where it's at. But
and it kind of became your home. Yeah.
But to answer her question, there are a bunch of different loopers, and they all similarly do the same thing. I've got the vocal live too. I've got the machine. I've got the this thing loops as well. I've got a RC30. Is it
Yeah,
the
that's the big
RC30?
boss one. Yeah.
Yeah, RC300. Yeah,
300's the one with the multiple pedals. Yeah.
and
And that
that
one's
one,
really cool because what's really cool about that one is you get a lot. We're talking about is it Roland or Boss? The Boss RC
it's Moss.
300, where
Yeah,
you have there's like a pedal where you can assign it and fade in and out
yeah.
parts. You've got three
Mm-hmm.
different sections. You
Mm-hmm.
can put vocals and instruments through
Yeah.
it and
Mm-hmm.
loop either one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I
Yeah.
found when I would mess with them just to do simple limited things like I just want to play my song and then take a solo. Simple as that. I mean,
Yeah.
and as simple as that, I would play a verse to like a song like Teresa, and I'd play the chords, and then I
Sure.
would take a solo over it. And what it would do is just create this moment in the song where there was like a breath.
Yeah.
And people would say, "Oh, I didn't even notice you were using a looper," but all of a sudden I heard another guitar part. It's like, well, yeah, I just looped the verse so I could take a solo. But then when I found that even
Oh, oh, hey.
easy easy one as well. I was doing that earlier when you were doing your thing because I wanted people to see the whole scope.
Uh,
That was on accident though. But when I was messing with the RC300, I noticed that there were times where I really had to go through and assign like, this is going to take out the harmonies, or this is only going to loop one thing and not the other. And you have to be very meticulous, which leads me to another question. When people talk about switching instruments and time consuming and doing the backing tracks, you have the ability to just sit down and like, I'm going to create something from scratch. But when it's one of your songs, like when you have it on the album, Mobley talks about how, and Sydney's talked to me a little bit about this too in private. Sometimes it might take as much as 30 hours to program a song to where it's an interesting thing where I'm jumping around from, or where you're jumping around from instrument to instrument. Talking a little bit about the actual programming, it's a little bit more than just what you do live because you had to do all that work first.
yeah. I mean,
So.
I first started doing the other way,
Ah,
where I was basically doing, some of my first gigs, I showed up with a water jug, an
yeah,
acoustic guitar, and a bass guitar, and that was it. And that would basically be like,
yeah,
and then, so it was all about building and stuff. Later on, though, I definitely got way more involved with the process. And yeah, I mean, there'll be times where like the song that I was just showing you there is a song called Bounce. And I mean, it's evolved multiple times. So the process, like songwriting for me or everybody out there, I'm sure, it just changes with your life. And you try to keep it similar so people can relate to the one that they heard a year ago. But it's like jazz, it's like improv, you keep growing on it. So yeah, I think the process of development is a never-ending thing. And speaking to the 30 hours of development, yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I do is tweak songs. And sometimes I'll hear a solo instrument and it's kind of it's outdated for me. Like, I might have tweaked some other thing by now and thrown that in there or thrown some new keys in
yeah,
there. So
yeah.
yeah.
Do you find this kind of leads to a question? I'm not gonna say it the way he says it, but do you find it's John who wanted to ask about equipment, and I find that I'm hoping that John, let me know in the thing if I'm saying this right. You're never done because there's always like one thing that makes the show a little better, or a new looper comes out and it's like, oh my gosh, that has a function where I can stack these harmonies. Do you find that unfortunately you're never done buying equipment? Because we're never done buying guitars if we always have like another sound that we're excited about,
uh,
and we're never done, it's like, man, I got a 5-string bass, but I don't know. I just watched, Thundercat do the 6-string thing. What am I going to do now? You
oh
know?
gosh, yeah. Well, I mean, I like the fact that it's never ending because, like, what if we did acquire everything that we needed and that was it? So I think that the improvement of
Never-ending equipment.
technology.
Yeah.
I mean, the improvement of technology has come so far that I'm able to do this, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I remember seeing a really cool interview with Jim Morrison from The Doors, and he was talking
Mhm.
about that the future he sees one guy with tape machines playing music with himself, and that was
Kinda nailed it.
wow, well over a quarter of a century ago, right?
Yeah, but
And
it turned out it was Saint Vincent, you know?
and so
Who
I'm
was
like,
doing it.
I mean, I can't wait to see where it goes, I guess is my answer to that. I love it. I'm actually trying to acquire a few more instruments for sure, and I definitely want to build the studio with more organic. I definitely want to get a whirly in here, a real whirly. I've got some good whirly sounds and everything like that, but it's just always fun to collect. If you're a musician, it never stops, I don't think, for sure.
That's not really right. There was an old Stephen Bruton joke where a young guitar player went up to him, the late Stephen Bruton, and they said, "Man, I heard you have a really, really big guitar collection." And he said, "Yes, I have lots of guitars." He said, "How many do you have?" And he said, "Always one less than what I need."
Exactly. Exactly.
For
Yeah.
real. Now, as far as the
Hmm.
vintage instruments are concerned, like I would go through phases where it was like, man, I just had to have a big muff,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is a pedal that just
Yeah, I think
basically
I have
makes your
one of them.
guitar sound huge, right?
Mhm.
And, the big muff is just such a wonderful sound. Or I had to get a real heel talk box. And
Mhm.
then I would take the talk box out on the road. I was
Mhm.
actually playing with Bob Schneider, and I would take the box out on the road and use it a lot with like my pedal steel
Mhm.
and play like, Robert Randolph style stuff with the talk box.
Mm.
But the clubs that we would play,
Mhm.
the electricity wouldn't be so great. And I'm telling you, man, like I would just see like a spark, and then I'd get all like woozy and stuff, and I'd be like,
Oh, you mean
whoa,
from your mouth to the
yeah,
mic?
like a ground
I
lift,
know what you're
right?
talking
Because
about.
it wouldn't be ground lifted and stuff, and so it would
Yeah.
just be like painful. And eventually, I was like, "I'm
Yeah.
sorry, Bob, I can't take this thing out anymore." And he's like, "What?" He's like, "We need it." He's like, "We need it for bullets, man. It's the
Do
thing
it for
on
science,
bullets."
man.
And I said, "No, man, I can't do it." But
Yeah.
so you're into mixing in while you do it, and that kind of
Yeah.
helps with tone too. So you've got some organic stuff in there mixed with all the other stuff you're doing.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely have to. I mean, um,
What are
you
some of
know
the other organic things you like a big muff or like a talk box, or what are some of the ones that people might not know that you love throwing in, or that you've sampled so that you can get those sounds?
yeah, no, I mean, I generally travel with a decent wah pedal. I love the wah. I've got some fuzz boxes as well. Hasn't been until lately where, when we were doing festivals where literally the 10 to 15-minute changeover times were
So fast.
so quick, that I started really developing in the box of a lot of different sounds. I actually made my own vocoder um,
Yeah.
that I think is pretty rich, and, it definitely allows me to just keep this MIDI keyboard going, and, yeah, so, I mean, I have no, uh, and I'm not anti, physical pedals or anything like that, I
No, of
love them
course not.
all.
Yeah.
I've got a
Yeah.
bunch of them actually, and I use them for studio stuff too, um, but I do love where technology has come. I mean, it's incredible. I was thinking the other day, because I got that Guitar Rig 6, and it's literally like walking into a guitar store
It's
and
insane.
having any amplifier and pretty much any pedal you want
This is what I guess we would tell
like
people
that.
who are listening. It's like a controller, right? Like basically it's like a mini pedal board that has a bunch of sounds in it, right?
Well, no, I'm actually talking about software. I think they do sell a physical pedal board that you can control it.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
you grab this, so you put it through the computer, you
yeah,
plug in through your
yeah,
interface.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember? I don't know if you remember a time when, I'm sure you do. I would be in the studio and they'd say, okay, we need an Echoplex on this,
Uh-huh.
which is an old tape delay. And
Yep.
so we'd get out the Echoplex, we'd take the top off, we'd get some alcohol, and we would rub the
Clean
heads,
the heads.
and we'd make sure
Yeah,
that they were clean. We'd
yeah,
clean the heads,
sure.
and we make sure the tape was right, and then we use it. And people would say, well, I've got one in the program. Do you want to just use that? And we go, oh God, no.
Definitely
No. We're
not.
definitely not going to use that one in the program. It's going to sound
Yeah.
awful. Now,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Now
pulling up the
I'd be
Xbox because
I'd
it's
be
going to
hard
sound great in
pressed.
there. It's
I'd
going to
be
sound
hard
great in
pressed
the box.
if I could really figure it. Like if you gave me like an A/B test with a blindfold and some good headphones,
That's what I'm
um,
saying.
I may pick the wrong one. There is definitely that warm hiss, but now
Sure.
that hiss has even been emulated, and
I know.
it's crazy. It's crazy to
Yeah.
me. So technology to me has made, I've got an old Fender Vibralux behind me. I've got a Bassman from 1972. I've got some old vintage amps and stuff.
Yeah.
I remember lugging those around to all the gigs and everything. You know what I mean? And
I do know.
it was great. It was a lot greater when I was a lot younger too. But
Yeah.
but now I plug it in, and there's always those cats that are like, oh man, this guy, he's just going through the monitors and stuff. But then when people are dancing, and
You
I don't
talk
know.
to them about hauling that stuff, man. And then also you give them the blind taste test. You give them that's my point. My point is that now, yes, I love the sound of the original stuff. Of course I
Absolutely,
love it
of
because
course,
the feeling of
of course,
vibration of an
yeah.
amp in your face is
Mhm.
real. It's not a graph.
Absolutely.
It's not a graph. But they have got so close now, and you're out there trying to make a living, and you're trying to make people dance, and you can bring all these great
Not
sounds in.
to mention how delicate those things. I mean,
Yes,
if you've had them since
yes,
the '70s, or if you have those old pedals that you've been cherishing, you take them out on the road for a few years and they're,
they're trashed. They're shook up, and
you
they're
gotta get them
falling apart a
fixed.
lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
and musicians are trying to work on a budget, man, so
yeah, man. I agree. I think it's really wonderful now that we can pretty much do it, and a lot of people don't know.
yeah.
Like I've even sent stuff to people where I used an emulator in their pros, and they said, well, blah 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 blah, and I'll like do it in GarageBand and then make the file go to Pro Tools, and then they'll never know. They'll know
GarageBand
now.
rocks too.
They don't know. GarageBand, Logic, they're so these are DAWs, everybody. These are digital audio workstations
Mhm,
where you can record, and Pro
mhm,
Tools being the one that's like the industry standard for all this and for all that. And
mm.
people will say, oh well, I can hear the difference, and I'm like, fine, then I'll just boot up my Pro Tools and record it again for you, but
Yeah.
that's never happened once, not
I've always wondered
once.
though, like seriously, like, do you really though?
Do you
Like
really hear the
I could
difference?
definitely
Yeah,
taste the difference between Coke and Pepsi,
me
but
too. But I couldn't, but exactly, me too. But it's really, really interesting how far we've come, and that you can create so much music by yourself now, and it's a mixed blessing because there's a lot of crappy music out there too, because it's too easy to make it.
uh,
I got another great question regarding kind of going along with what we're talking about. My friend Kate
cool.
Howard always asks really great questions. She
Yeah.
says, does the piece that you're working on tell you like what instrument to play on live? If not, how do you decide? And I will add to that, is that organic? And of course, I'm assuming it changes. And that some nights you're like, you know what? I want to play keys on this. And some nights you're like, you know what? I'm going to just lay on the bass and that's it when I'm doing this tune.
I mean,
But
generally, for me, a song is written by the instrument. Um, I've often said this. Um, a lot of my music, I don't. I mean, I have inspirations, and then I don't really know. Something happens, and I'm not quite sure
mhm,
of this process. And before I know it, there is a song, and it could be on the piano, it could be on the drums, or it could be on the bass or guitar. Generally, I'm realizing though it's either a piano piece, a bass line, or a guitar riff.
mm,
But I don't, I don't think. Well, actually, I take that back. Sometimes I'll think I'm gonna write a song that starts with a spanking riff,
yeah,
or I'm gonna write a song with some pretty chords, but that's about it. And I just kind of let it flow. I think music needs to flow in order for it really to happen. Like you can't just sit down with just a couple of box chords and hammer it out and expect for it to have emotion and feel to resonate with the audience. So I think you have to kind of let it go. and whatever instrument that is. I will say though, I don't write a lot of songs just on the drums. Be it a percussive instrument,
Yeah.
but sometimes maybe percussion or something. So
Yeah. I find that it's really challenging and fun. And I've only recently started doing this where anytime I'm co-writing with somebody, I
mm,
try and take them outside of whatever box they're comfortable in because I
mm,
just want to see what happens organically. If they're really
mhm,
good with lyrics, I
mhm,
throw them some music. If they're really good with music, I throw them some lyrics and I say, what about this? But
mhm,
one thing that I love that I've had a lot of success with is picking
mhm,
a beat from a song that we love,
mhm.
transcribing that beat, making it sound like us, and then writing a completely different song
Yeah,
because I love that rhythm so much,
right.
and it never comes out that way. One song Scrappy and I wrote came from the beat to Cabbage Alley by the Meters because I love that song so much. It's one of my favorite things by the Meters. Another one was by a Staples Singers tune. Another one was, by people. And so just transcribe the beat. And then I would just do the dishes and just listen to the beat and
Yeah,
then start humming along lines,
there you go.
you know, and whatever came out was the beginning of the song. Um, I really love that. And what a great question as always, Kate. You know,
Thanks, Kate.
yeah, it's a really, really cool question for sure. Now, I got another question that's kind of off the wall that I love. That's from another person who's here often. And
Okay.
Larry King wants to know, he says he's always curious about the high school activities of musicians.
Hmm.
And he wants to know what we were involved in, both of us. And I'll go quick. I unfortunately like every time we moved, I tried to be like a different guy, like because we moved around a lot. My mom was like climbing up the corporate ladder. I had a single parent mom, and as she
Right
climbed up,
on.
we would go from town to town and stuff, right? And it was pretty amazing what she accomplished. But in one town, it was like, okay, I'm just going to be like a theater guy, and in the next town, it was like, okay, I'm going to try football, and I sucked. And then in the next town, it was like, oh my God, a mile in cleats. Picture Jeff Plankenhorn doing a mile in cleats every day. Oh, I was a punching bag for those poor people. That's it.
Oh, you
But,
mean in football? Okay, okay.
oh yeah, yeah, man. I was just, oh God, I was horrible. I was horrible, but I tried, man. I tried. I had spirit. So then when I finally got to my high school, I was just like, music is everything, and it just came easy to me. So really, my extracurricular activities started and stopped with music. By the time I was like 15, it was like
Yeah.
I'm singing opera stuff, and I'm doing musical stuff, and I'm learning how to program, and I'm because we still had like 808s and stuff like that. It
Mm-hmm.
was a little bit after 808s. It was the black one, the 90 something. Um, but
909,
mine
I
mine
think.
were what's that?
The 909, I
I
think.
think
Yeah.
it was the 909 with the black pads that
Mm, mm,
right around.
mhm.
Um, that was the one I started with, and I had a Juno, and I had,
Oh,
but it
yeah.
wasn't mine. It was the school's. The school
Those are
had a
so
909.
sweet.
Yeah, and they had like
Mm.
this little cage that I would go back in, and my band director said, "I'll give you a course credit if you learn how to use all this stuff and then teach me." And I was like, "Yes,
Pay me, dog.
yes, man! No,
Yeah.
I took it. I got to learn how to use that." We had a Kurzweil, and
Nice,
we had a Juno, and we had a DX7, and we had a thing, and I was
nice,
like, "Yeah, man,
nice,
I'm gonna learn how to
nice,
use all this stuff."
nice.
But everything was pretty much music after that,
Mhm.
and it's only now that I get into other extracurriculars. What were your things besides music? Were there anything besides music in high school for Larry King?
Side music?
Or was it
Um,
primarily that?
it
Or
was
was it working? We had a
it
lot of jobs too.
yeah, it was primarily music. I had the band I was mentioning before the show, Gingerbread Men.
Gingerbread Man.
We started pretty young. I mean, I had one of my first gigs on at the Black Cat when I was like 14. Like, yeah,
Wow.
we were opening up for bands like Soul Hat and
Yeah.
Little Sister and Joe Rockhead back in the days. Yeah, I was a kid, man.
Wow.
I mean, music has been. I was in the stage band. I was in the marching band. I was in bands. I had a couple of like bands after school that we would just hang out and some great cats. Do you know Freddie Mendoza?
Yeah.
Trombone.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I went to school. Well, I was a freshman when he was graduating already, but So he was just like a mentor of mine growing up. Just amazing trombonist and musician, and his work
Yeah.
ethic. I mean, I would go after school and he'd be practicing until 6 p.m. after everybody was gone, but me and the janitor, and you know what I mean? Like, so music was kind of my thing. If it was anything else, skateboarding,
Yeah. Okay. So you're a skater.
uh,
Yeah.
chasing girls, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, that's high school, right? That's pretty fair.
That's high school back in the
That's
day.
pretty fair. Yeah. Yeah. And of
But
course,
I
it
don't
didn't
know.
stop past then.
Yeah. I'm married now, so I don't
Yeah.
want to.
Me too, bro. Me
I
too.
ain't
Me
doing
too.
that. I ain't doing that
Happily.
anymore.
No, we
Yeah.
don't need to go. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're in that world.
Yeah.
Which high school did Henry go to? Robert asks.
Taft High School in San Antonio, Texas.
All
Yeah.
right. All
It
right.
was a new school when I arrived, and I had like crazy spiky hair, and they told me to put my hair down, and
Of course they did. Of
yeah,
course they did.
of course. But it was a great, I met John Vogelsang there. He's one of my
Ah, Johnny
best
V.
buddies
Yeah,
of
yeah,
all
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
He was in the bread too.
Yeah.
And
He came
we
out and did a couple of tours with Schneider when I was with him, especially when we
yeah,
were
he
out
did.
opening for the Dixie Chicks. That's when I got to hang out with him a bunch.
Yeah, he did. He's a heart
He
of
told
gold,
me I
man.
played too many pentatonic scales and that I needed to expand my. He said, man, you really need to expand. And I said, I didn't ask. It's okay. I love you, Johnny, but I didn't ask. Seems like everybody's
Johnny
enjoying it, but
B.
you.
Yeah.
No, he's one of the
Love
best, man. I'm just giving him a hard time.
that.
I'm completely
Yeah.
out of love.
Yeah.
Hey, while we're here right now, and we're kind of a little bit more than midway through the show, I do take tips for my guest and me for the show. So real quick, just putting that out there. As long as I can get, a tank of gas for Henry and his pops, or maybe a meal, we really, really
Thanks,
appreciate
man.
that. Once
Yeah.
again, we want to thank just in the middle of the show, I want to thank AustinCityJams.com, and I want to thank Austin Music TV for giving us this platform, and everybody who's watching online. I hope you're having a good time. And then
Sheila.
I also really, really, really want to make this available to you. To find out more information about Henry Invisible, you have a .com right here. You have a Facebook. You know how to follow. You know how to like. You know how to find stuff. These days, that stuff means a lot to us, like a lot, a lot, a lot. I can't tell you what it means when somebody puts together a playlist and they put one of my songs on it. It still gives me a good feeling, and I think that sharing music is a big part of things right now too. Thanks, Danielle. I love it how you put things in the comments. Sometimes you just put your
Thank
website in
you.
the comments,
Thank you,
people.
Danielle. That's
That
cool.
stuff helps all the time. And so let's get back into the questions a little bit.
Yeah.
This one is from Chris. He says, okay, so you know what? You and I were just kind of talking about this. So, Chris, I'm going to take the lead on your questions about live gigs. You and I were talking about this a little bit before we went on. I know you're about to play some live gigs. And I know, so you mentioned that you go out with your pops, your dad goes out on tour with you because he loves to drive. And I just think that is absolutely fantastic.
And he loves the music.
Yeah, he likes to get into it.
Yeah.
Man, there's nothing better than having a cheerleader. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I mean, it's the best. If you got somebody selling
buddy.
merch, or somebody who's holding up your CD or whatever it is, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. And for that to be family is even better. What are your worries about playing live gigs right now when you go out, if any, and how do you deal with it if you're in a situation where you don't feel comfortable? I know I've had situations where I've had to say, yeah, I'm not doing it. And I think that's the best thing to do for my people, and my fans come first, not whether or not I'm going to make a paycheck, even in these hard times. So where are you, first of all, where are you about to go play?
So next week, the 18th, I'll be in Dallas, the 19th in Fayetteville, Arkansas, and the 20th in Missouri for 2 days at a fest. And they have all guaranteed me that well, first of all, they're all outdoor gigs.
Yeah. So that's a big one. That makes it a lot easier to say yes.
Yeah. and they've all guaranteed me that it's social distanced and all that stuff, and that people have to wear masks unless they're seated, and it's far away from the
Sure.
stage. It's funny. It's like I'm more concerned about my pops
Yeah.
uh,
Age group.
than yeah than me. Um, so I would just say that if I got there and it just seemed really loose, we'd probably just jump in the van and split because it's like it's not worth it to me. But I think that a lot of these venues are really trying because they have to, and because they are, so are we, and because there are some people that do want to go see live music. I'm gonna provide that for them. It is, music is a healer. It's definitely a service that we provide, and it's what we do. But I'm not gonna be risky or stupid. So that's basically about it. You know what I mean?
I mean, that's about the best answer I could look for too,
Hmm.
is like, it's not over, but
Yeah.
as things relax,
Yeah.
I want to save as many venues as I can. I want to save as many musicians as I can, you know? And
Well, yeah.
and every time we go out there and we play a gig, we really are, helping both,
Mm.
not to mention the fact, yeah, people are starved for music, um, and they need it for their mental health. But it's just that balancing act between, do I feel comfortable doing this? Because I've had so many people ask about that.
Now that being said, I have done a few gigs, very few, maybe
Yeah, right.
like 3 or 4 live,
Hmm.
if that, gigs since last March. Um, but every one of them has been pretty open, pretty safe. People are really following the rules because they don't really want to mess with them, and everybody wants to be safe. Um, you
Most people.
know, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but
I mean, we
I'm not.
do have like the people out there that are like burning masks and making statements and stuff. Even in Canada, we have the rare
Yeah,
person that is, but
there's
we can't
always
do we
that,
can't do much
right?
about that contingency. You
Yeah,
really
I don't
can't.
know. I
I
don't know
want
what to say
to, but
about
I
that.
don't
I
know
don't
what to
know.
say to those people.
Yeah, I don't know, but, for everybody that I've seen is very respectful, and nobody wants to get sick, but,
No.
yeah, I don't know, but that's how I feel about it. I definitely am looking forward, to everybody getting vaccinated and all that stuff, and being safe and all that stuff, if that's, whatever it is. I just want to go back to normal, and, that's why I haven't been playing a lot of gigs. But, when they do it so distanced and stuff, I don't really see that much of a problem, so.
Yeah. My buddy Adrian Quintero says, "Are they hanging out at the cool funk shows though?" You're probably right. They're probably not
Yeah.
hanging out at the cool funk shows if they're
Oh,
burning masks.
the ma
Yeah, the
yeah.
mask burners or whatever. I
No,
mean,
they
probably
ain't.
not.
They
No,
ain't.
they're probably not. Adrian is
No. Mm-mm.
not only does he do a really, really, really eclectic Sunday DJ set. I'm talking world music and a lot of classic hip hop and a lot
Oh,
of soul and
cool.
funk
Oh,
on
nice.
Sundays. But Adrian is also one of my favorite graphic artists in the world, and he's done stuff from Cilantro Boombox to
Oh,
me to
yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
sorts
No,
of people.
I was actually looking at a poster he did, today, and yeah, good to see. Yeah, I didn't recognize his
Yeah,
handle.
he's
Cool.
he's he's so great. Not only do I really enjoy those Sunday morning shows, but he's
Mm,
done some really, really beautiful work for every type of music. So just a little
nice.
shout out there to my friend. Mike Carm asks, "Oh no, were you gonna say something? Go ahead."
No, I was just giving,
Oh, you're
Adrian
just giving him that. All
a
right.
point.
Mike Carm says, "My question is when are we having lunch?" And Mike, I'm still in Canada. I'm still in Canada, man. Okay. When I get my green card here, I will be able to work in both countries, just like my wife is able to work there. And just like, she can work there, she can work here. She's got her green card in the States. I'm working on my green card here. It was a perfect time. We knew we'd be stuck in Canada for a year, close to family. Long story short, we'll have lunch the second I get back, bro.
Who do we
We
have
will.
lunch?
We will. When are we having lunch? That is not a question I often get, but I enjoyed it.
It's a good question, though.
Yeah. Oh, so Adrian says he has done a piece
Yeah.
for
Beautiful,
you.
actually, too.
Actually, too.
Yeah, but
Cool, cool.
the one I was looking at today is this beautiful piece. It's like a constellation.
Mm.
Um, it's kind of me in this hat, but it's just me invisible, but it's a constellation. It's beautiful.
He comes up with some really, really cool stuff, and he draws on a
Mhm.
lot of stuff. Like he sent me one thing once, and I was like, it just blew me away. Looked like Frank, the Batman guy, the really, really, really dark. It was just really
Oh,
awesome.
okay.
But also like he's doing some great stuff. We had to talk about him the whole time. Sorry, Adrian. He's doing some great stuff for Pat Byrne, the Irish cat too.
Nice.
Anyway, back to Henry. Thank you very much. Hey, I want to make sure that we get through a few more things and we get to as many questions as we
Sure.
can.
Yeah.
But I know that you're kind of in the middle of working on a new record. So I
Mhm.
want to spend just a little bit of time talking about that so we can get people geared up.
Mhm.
And I also want to talk a little bit. I want to mention the BC.
Oh,
And I want to mention just a little bit about that if you find time to talk about that, because that's
those two are
royalty.
correlated. So yeah.
All right.
Good.
Well, let's just spend just a moment talking
Okay.
about your happenstance of coming in contact with one of the original Funketeers, Bootsy Collins. Not just from James Brown, not just from Parliament Funkadelic, but all the way to Delight and today.
Yeah.
You know, Bootsy
Yeah.
Collins. Now,
Yeah.
your music sounds like it has that one heavy, beautiful funk to it. It sounds inspired by it long before you met him. But how did that come about?
Well, meeting with Bootsy, which by the way, he just did a project with Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. You got to check it out.
It's insane.
It's really saucy.
Yeah, it's
really
so good. Yeah.
It's crazy. I was in Mexico and I was sitting at a bar and I was scrolling through my feed and I saw Bootsy Collins was having this contest, audition for Bootsy Collins. And I was like, wow, what an amazing opportunity. And while I know that competition is completely fierce out there, the prerequisites were apparently I had to send in 1 minute video, and I had to tag him. And I was, like I said, I was in Mexico on vacation, so I was like, "Do I have a video in my?" Oh, I do.
Yeah.
I have one. So I put it up and posted it and tagged him and did all that stuff. And then he said on Christmas Day he was going to announce the winner. Well, Christmas came and passed, so I was like, well,
Yep. Oh well.
I hope he listened to my track. And it wasn't until the 27th that I got notified that I was one of 5 to come audition for him at the Winter NAMM Festival out there in Anaheim, California.
Yeah.
So I was
Had
like,
you been to NAMM before?
wow, I had not.
That's
I
a
had
trip.
not.
It's a trip, right?
Yeah, it's like Guitar Center times 1,000. It's just
There's
like
good and bad like anything else. Yeah, it's
it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I
Yeah.
got to hang with Vic Wooten and it was really cool. But anyways, the audition thing came and I didn't know, man, let me just put it this way. The competition was fierce, but I was the last one to perform and I got the gig. And so basically we had left. There were no winners announced that night, but I will say this. I walked up to Mr. Collins and I said, "Bootsy, did I win? Did I win? You know?" And he goes, "You're a winner." And I said, "Now does that mean that I won Bootsy, or like I'm a winner?" You know what I mean? And he's just like, oh man. And I had no idea what it entailed or anything.
Yeah, like what it meant.
But I'm driving home and we're like in Las Cruces already, and I get a text from Bootsy and he's like, "I want you to record some stuff with Bootzilla and I want you on the music video, and I love what you do, and let's work together." And I was like, sweet.
I mean, that's it can't get any better for what you do. You
now
know,
that happened.
George, maybe George himself, maybe,
Yeah,
but still.
I mean, that happened in January. So, when pandemic hit, everything was kind of like, like just total tape warp. And
Fizzle.
so, yeah, well, not fizzled, because I actually did record with him on a couple of tracks already, and I'm in his music video and all his stuff. But we were going to do some sort of touring. He's not really playing right now, though.
Right.
He's playing very little, but he gets out there and he puts on these events. And so I was very excited about it. So I can't wait to get back to normal so that we can see what all that's about too. But you know, like I said, it was just a magical thing that I will never ever um, minimize because it was just everything was so magical about it. And what I mean
Yeah.
by that is like
Oh, I do.
literally on the way there, I was born 333 August 3rd. On the way there, you know, our room was like 303 and we're driving and there's a big truck that says Roland right next to me and Henry Roland. And then we turn on this corner and it's like my nickname and it's just crazy stuff
Everything was crazy serendipity.
just matching up and I couldn't believe it. And when we got there and I performed, we're talking about musicians that play with Buddy Miles and
Mhm.
some of the dramatics and some of the
Oof.
spinners and all these people in one room, you know, just kind of and you know, that was it. I mean, you got to shine when it's your time, you know. So I
Yeah.
was prepared. I'd practiced that song like 20 times the night before, so
Well, I
it was
mean, I
cool.
think a lot of people forget, you know, we Yogi, who we were talking about earlier, he jokes and he calls it Austinitis. And you know,
Mm,
Austinitis is I'm gonna work out my shit on stage.
mm,
And it's like, no,
mm,
no, you're not. You're
mm,
not, you know? And it's like
mhm,
we get spoiled because Austin audiences love for us to try out new stuff and they love
mhm,
for us to experiment. And they
mm,
will come to show after show after show after show after show after show, which is a
mhm.
beautiful, beautiful thing. But then an Austin audience gets out there and plays in front of an audience somewhere else, and they're like, what the hell are they doing up there? You know, like, I didn't watch them come here to watch this. I came here to watch them play a show. I don't want to watch them practice or do their homework.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so it's
Well, you
really,
know,
really, really important for us to know, you
mhm,
know, that
mhm,
like what you said, you practiced the song 20 times before you went in the next day,
mhm,
you
mhm,
know.
mhm,
And I think that's really important for people to hear because we're lucky in Austin that when I'm there, of course, that people love spontaneity and they love different shows and they love that, but you got to be careful because you go out of town and somebody pays $20 to see you, they don't want to see that shit.
mhm.
You know? Much less if
Yeah.
you're going to be in a contest.
I mean, I would much rather when people say jam band, I think of Chaka Khan, I
Yeah.
think of Parliament Funkadelic, I think of
Yes.
Herbie Hancock. I don't necessarily think of playing in the key of D
No.
major for
And
20
just going.
minutes.
Yeah.
But that being said, though, I think there's, you know, there's beauty in both worlds, and I definitely, I understand, how it kinda got to that because it was, you know, kind of lax, I would say. Speaking of that, you know, I moved to New York for about a decade just to study the music scene over there, and it was pretty hardcore,
Yeah.
in comparison. There's some great musicians here, I'm
Which
not
has its
saying that.
positive and negative effects, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, you're broke as hell, but,
Yep.
you know, and, you might get mugged a couple of times too. But, but I just what I mean by that is, like, you know, it's really dog eat dog, and everybody's aspiring for the same gigs. So you're really working your ass off to kinda, you know, to kinda do it and stuff, as well as here, man. It's here too. It's just I'm just saying that it was there was a lot of hustle that I brought back with me that I'll never forget. You know, so, yeah,
Now, do
austinitis, that's
you
a funny
feel
word.
yeah, but do you feel like one of the things that I love about Austin personally is the bands tend, and maybe you've had a different experience. Doesn't matter which scene I was on. I found people in this scene that were on this scene that were on this scene. I found people that were like, "There's enough gigs to go around for us." You know what I mean? It was
Yeah,
always
it's
kind of like,
beautiful.
and
It's
that
beautiful.
was something that drew me after spending, you know, months playing in New York with a J Records group, and then spending time in LA, and then spending time, you
Yeah,
know,
it's
in
why I'm
different
back.
spending time in Nashville. Why we like Austin for one of the beautiful reasons anyway. And Houston and Dallas both have this too, especially Fort Worth is a real community oriented scene. Is that
Yeah,
you know, it's not so cutthroat. It's like, oh,
yeah.
you're here to play music?
It's a lot more
Cool.
family oriented,
Jump
which I
on
do
in.
appreciate that. Yeah.
I get
Austin's
that a lot more.
Austin's got some amazing, amazing gems. Um,
Mhm.
when I think through it, like Dr. Polk or Ephraim Owens or Brandon Temple or
That's what
uh,
we're talking about.
AJ
Institutions that
Johnson.
what
Elias
can Brennan
Haslund or
Temple what can Brennan Temple not play? You
I
know
don't
what I
know.
mean? Like
I
like
mean,
if you get
serious.
Brennan Temple on a country gig, he's gonna kill it.
Yeah.
And know exactly what to play, whether it's a Lefty Frizzell tune or it's a Pat Green song. He's gonna know what to
Jody
play.
Watley or like a
I
number of
mean,
the
come
gigs
on.
that he's just incredible. And that kind of stuff, although, every city's got theirs, um, you know, I think that is very special to Austin, Texas. I think that we
I
have to
do too.
really appreciate these cats that are here.
Rise
And
them up, keep them gigging. Keep them gigging.
yeah, I
You know
mean,
what
one
I
of the reasons
mean?
why I'm back is because, well, first of all, my family was here. My pops lived around here, and so I had to come back because I'd spent some time there, and it was really just a study. I actually spent more time over there than I thought.
Yeah,
I love Texas, so it's good to be back and playing funk. I love it. This is
yeah.
my home. This is where I want to be. So
Hey, I'm going to say this just before we go offline.
sure,
What we'll do is we'll stay online to finish up the questions. For those of you who are watching on Austin Music Television, this is
cool.
Henry Invisible, and I want to say one more time where you can find information about Henry Invisible and hear some more of his music. You can go back and listen to that beautiful song that I played in the intro
Thanks.
as well. Go to Facebook and check out wherever you find music and things like that. You can find out about Henry Invisible. I also don't mind saying one more time before we go off television that we take tips. Last time I'll say it. Thank you very, very, very much for the tips. They keep me the show going and keep us alive, and hopefully I can get some gas money or a nice meal for Henry and his pops, and or for you and your wife as well. It's nice every once in a while to be able to do that. Quick question before we go off the television. My question every week is basically this: what is your guilty pleasure music? Everybody has, and it doesn't have to be guilty, because the thing is, most of the time we're not guilty about it. We're musicians, we don't care. I have guilty pleasure music where when I was a young kid, right next to songs in the key of life, which was everything to me, my mother would play classical music. She would play all this stuff, but she would mix in Barry Manilow. And so I have this strange, weird
Hmm.
affection for Barry Manilow. I have people come on here and tell me it's the Spice Girls. I have people come on and tell me they
Mm-mm.
really, really, really love Devo. I have people say,
Uh,
what do you have that, like, or at least something that people wouldn't expect that you listen to? What do you listen to that's
uh,
outside of the funk world that you love, but it's like way out left field? I love asking people that.
I don't know if it's way out left field, but Van Halen,
All
like,
right.
some
Okay.
some old school kind of rock,
80s? Are we
like
talking about
Black Sabbath
1984 or
or
what?
something, you know what I'm
Sabbath?
saying? Like,
Okay.
I mean, I love rock and roll. Like, I love some really gritty rock and roll, the Zeppelin, of course, and all those,
Okay,
but
so a little bit more of the classic rock, which isn't too much
yeah,
of a surprise, man, because if
yeah,
you listen to like Eddie Hazel or you
exactly.
listen to Michael Hampton, who are like probably the two quintessential, or Gary Scheider, the
Yeah,
quintessential P-Funk guitar players, there was
yeah.
so much Hendrix in what they
Yeah.
played.
I mean, of course, Hendrix.
So much.
Yeah.
Um,
But I
and
guess
funk tunes tended to have, like, if there was going to be a guitar solo, it was going to be like this,
yeah,
a
and then
lot of times.
something I bet nobody would ever expect is that I love Frank Sinatra.
There you go. See, now that's what I'm talking about. Everybody needs a little sugar. If Frank Sinatra is your
He's
sugar,
so
everybody
good.
needs cheese every once in a while. Everybody needs
Yeah,
sugar once in a while,
yeah,
you know? And so you like old Blue Eyes.
yeah, yeah, I
Is
do,
there a
I do.
particular period or things like
Yeah,
do you like certain stuff of Frank's?
I do. Well, the very early stuff, "Come fly with me," that
All
stuff,
right. The New York period
good
too,
stuff.
like the
Yeah.
real kind of jazz in a studio up on a
Big
mic with a
band.
cigarette and a scotch, Rat Pack. Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned I was in big band, so I love that old Count Basie, Duke Ellington, and then, of course, what Frank did and
Yeah.
and
Yeah, I'm
the
putting
Rat
those.
Pack. I love all that, so
All right, cool. I dig it. I dig it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Now we are off the television, so we can do full on calls to action.
Woo-hoo-hoo!
Thanks again to
All right.
AustinCityJams.com.
It's
But
crazy now.
here is where I really want you guys. When we're on television, we can't do call to action because it's a public station. But I can tell you right now, please go to henryinvisible.com. Please go to his Facebook page. Go to Spotify. When you go to Spotify, make sure you hit the save button too. That's really big on Spotify. They don't care how many spins we get. They care how many people save our music to how many listen to it. So that's another thing you can do if you really love stuff. Make a playlist with Henry Invisible and a bunch of funk stuff that you like and share it with a bunch of friends. Do it. It helps. For those of you who don't have any bread, it's just a big thing because it's tough out there right now. Quick question from Ted. How long have you been collecting all that vinyl? I'm going to say it's going to be your whole life, right? Come on.
Well,
Come on. How do you start that?
well, let me tell you something. This is not real.
Oh, for
This is
real?
yeah. This is a green screen because normally, yeah. No. Let me show you. So hold on. Normally, what I got going on is something like this. So it's just it's a background. Now I do have a bunch of vinyl,
Collection.
but it is downstairs, and
Oh, see, now that's so cool.
yeah. It's just a virtual thing. It's just I wanted to kind of be in a more not so crazy environment as people were asking
Yeah.
questions. So
Yeah. Well, they should know this. If you could give us 30 seconds of just a quick jam, put those lights back up because I want them to know what your show is like without having to see a show. If you could just give me at the end of the show, like, I don't know, man, just give me just a little bit of a taste of anything that you've got queued up with that in the background. And I'm going to give everybody here just a tiny taste of Henry Invisible. Anything you want to do, maybe for a minute or so, like anything.
play
Music. Yeah, man. I'll make it full screen because I really want them to know that your show is like a unique thing. So
Okay.
put that green screen disco back up and just play just a little bit for me of anything you want. I don't care if it's guitar, keys. You want to do a little bit of everything, and
Okay.
just whatever feels like a good minute of fun for you. If that doesn't,
A minute's tough because at a minute
more.
time, we just getting it going. But hold on, let me cue
All right,
something
let's do it
for you.
5 minutes.
Okay.
I don't mind a
Cool.
5-minute jam
Cool.
right now. I'll enjoy the
All right.
shit out of a 5-minute jam.
Make sure I got everything going on.
Yeah, take your time. Take your time. I want people to know kind of what you do and see it. And when you're done, we'll say goodbye. But just take all the time you need, man. I don't mean to funk you.
Thank you guys very much for being here, by the way.
I love it.
Let's see, here we go. 1, 2.
Oh, and while he's setting up, yes, the Carms. Hi, Leslie. I can't wait to play your blues festival again. You guys should think about getting Henry sometime for that. It would be a really cool thing to have a little bit of funk in that festival. I'd be happy to bring my wife when we come back to Texas and we can all have a nice meal together and break some bread. No problem, Danielle. I'm super glad you got. Yes, Henry Invisible is the same as from Henry and the Invisibles.
Yep.
We've got the .com right there and the Facebook right there, so you can find out some more about him. But he's going to play a tune for us right now.
Let's go.
When you're ready.
Thank
Give me
you,
that
Jeff.
background. I want to see that funky background if you don't mind.
Thanks for having me, babe.
You got it.
I don't believe in working slow. It don't mean nothing if it ain't got so. I'm on my way to make it through the night. I'ma do Don't stop, don't you ever, never, ever, don't stop. I ain't gonna leave it alone, baby. Don't stop, don't you ever, never, ever, don't stop. I'ma do my thing, just the same in my life. And I'm gonna never let you wanna play your part. Come on, baby, you got it, my own. You wanna dance, man, yeah. If you wanna get it up, you gotta do it all the time. Don't stop, don't you ever, never, ever, don't you stop. I ain't gonna leave it alone, baby. Don't stop, don't ever, never, never, don't stop. Yeah. Don't stop, don't you ever, never, ever, don't stop. We got to get to know how, baby. Don't stop, don't
And the monster fade.
Yeah, man.
Henry Invisible, everybody. I couldn't help. I was sitting there. I was like,
Jamming out, baby. Oh, nice.
yeah, I kept hearing my Eddie Hazel.
Nice. Oh, hell yeah.
You remember that from Shit Goddamn.
Oh, yeah. I hope it wasn't that
So
glitchy.
great. Hey, Steven, thanks for mentioning that. Susan, I bet you he does want to get back to Omaha soon. Thanks for being here. I'm so glad you played. I'm so glad you played a bunch at the end there. Susan wants you to come back to Omaha. Friday night, 9 p.m. Central, called Love Stream. That's over on your pages.
That's right. That's right. And I'm sorry, I'm a little glitchy there. I don't know what happened, but I guess, yeah. So, oh, you know what? Let me turn off this. It's probably because the disco ball thing.
Maybe.
A little
It
too
could just
much.
be. I never
Let's
want
see
to
if I
blame the
can.
Canadian internet because I'm blessed to be here. I'm
Or
blessed to
blame a
be here.
disco ball for that matter.
Yeah, I don't want to blame a disco ball.
Anyways, but what I was gonna say is, every Friday, 9 p.m. Central, Awesome Music Television, and on all my socials, you can find me anywhere at Henry Invisible. So yeah,
That's exactly how you do
come
it.
on by.
Thank you guys. Thank
Yeah,
you so much for being here with me.
thank
Stay
you.
on with me for just 1 minute, Henry,
Sure.
and everyone else. I'll see you tonight for From Here to There. I'm going to have a very special guest who's doing something special for a song or two. So you won't know that unless you show up. I'll see you at 8 p.m. Central tonight. Thanks to Austin Music TV. Thanks to Austin City Jams. Thanks to everybody online. Make sure you join the group so you know who's coming up. Next week, we have the incredibly talented Aaron Ivey, who has a new album out as well. That's going to be absolutely beautiful. And everybody's chiming in saying thanks and showing all the emojis and all the love from all the different platforms. Thank you. We'll see you here next week for another 20 Question Tuesdays. Thank you, Henry Invisible.
Thank you. And hello, Aaron. She my homie. Awesome. Thank you,
Right
Jeff.
on.
Thank you so much for having me. You're doing a great thing, man. Just talking to musicians and everybody out there. Thank you very much for listening to the music. Thank you.